Hey everyone, welcome. It's me, Catherine Endy, the Family Life Coach. I help parents of 2 to 10-year-olds feel calmer, more confident, and more connected to their kids so they can enjoy parenting and have more fun as a family. So today I have a question from a mom who's struggling with what to do when her kid doesn't do what she asked him to do. And I know that this is something that a lot of parents struggle with. Um, and a lot of parents who have been raised in a world in which there were rewards and consequences, particularly consequences for behaviors that the adults did not want to see. Those parents, those of us who are raised in that kind of environment, tend to want to resort to consequences when a kid says, "No, I'm not going to do that," or collapses on the floor and refuses to do whatever the thing is that we ask them to do. And so I want to offer some alternatives for what to do instead, because particularly when we're stressed, when our kids start to go into that meltdown mode and it activates a stress response in our own nervous system, we tend to rely on the things that we know, which is how we were raised. And so part of the process of conscious parenting is learning to identify those things and then shift them so that we're parenting in a way that is more connected. Because, and this is the first thing I said to this mom, is that our primary goal is our relationship with our child, right? Primary goal is the long-term relationship we have with our child or our children. The goal is not obedience, it's not compliance, it's not do what I said because I said so. It's not even really respect when kids are really small, because really small kids don't really have the capacity to offer the kind of respect that we think of when we think about a parent-child relationship. Because to be honest with you, that really looks a little more like compliance and obedience, doesn't it? So the first thing I want to say about this is to keep in mind that if our number one priority in parenting is fostering a strong and trusting relationship with our children, we want to handle these moments of defiance in a way that is supportive and kind and empathic, even though that's counterintuitive, even though that's counter to the way that most of us were raised. We want to avoid the power struggles and really lean into the empathy and being supportive. So I'm going to tell you what this looks like and suggest some approaches to this, because the truth is power struggles never work, right? You're never going to win those power struggles with your kid. And when we double down on I'm the grown up and you're the kid and you have to do it because I said so, that doesn't feel good. And it doesn't foster a strong and connected relationship, does it? It doesn't foster the kind of relationship we want to have with our growing people in the long term. So, if this means letting go a little bit, I want to offer that it's okay to let go. So, for example, if you ask your child to pick up their toys, playtime is over, it's time to put your toys away, and they just say flat out no, or they fall on the floor and start to have a meltdown, or they just ignore you and start to do something else, or they just keep playing, right? It's very easy to get triggered by that. It's very easy to feel disrespected, to feel like they're ignoring us, to feel like they're not being compliant, right? That can be very triggering for a lot of parents. So I guess I would say the first step is to just address that, right? It's, okay, I acknowledge that I feel that way. I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to be the grown up in the room and be in charge here, which doesn't mean be in control. It doesn't mean you're being controlling. It just means you're taking charge of the situation. And taking charge of the situation means recognizing what's really going on here. And what's really going on here is your child doesn't want to do the thing you asked them to do. That's okay. Can we just pause and take that in for a second? That's okay. If they don't want to do the thing you ask them to do, that's okay. I suspect that sometimes other adults ask you to do something that you don't want to do. And that's okay. It's okay to feel that way. So once you let that sink in and just accept, oh, he doesn't want to put his toys away right now. That's okay. Then the next step is, of course, this does not mean a free-for-all. Of course, this does not mean no accountability. What it means is if your child is in an emotional state where they're freaking out or really digging in their heels and refusing to do the thing, they're not in a state where they're really going to be able to hear you and interact with you and do what you want them to do. So step one, wait till things calm down a little bit. So that might be a few seconds, might take a few minutes. So it might mean the letting go is maybe the toys don't get picked up on your timeline. Maybe the toys don't get picked up right away on your timeline. So you need to make that okay too, right? Sometimes things do not go my way. And acknowledge it. Things are not going my way right now. And the truth is, if you double down and get into a power struggle with your kids, the toys aren't getting picked up then either. So I suspect if you compared power struggle parents to parents who are going to do what I'm going to suggest today that you do, I suspect it takes about the same amount of time to clean up the toys. I'm just going to throw that out there. Just that if you're in a power struggle, that time is being taken up with everybody feeling bad and you and your child being in conflict with one another. And that does not foster a strong and healthy relationship in the long run. So first step, wait till things calm down a little bit. Just take a breath. And then I'm going to suggest, and I will say that maybe that takes a while. Maybe that takes just a few seconds. It could be that your kid is really losing their mind and it might take an hour. It might be that the toys don't get picked up before you have to leave for daycare or preschool or wherever it is that you're going. That could be the case. That might not be the outcome you want, but that might be what happens. So wait however long it takes for things to calm down a little bit. Now again, this doesn't mean that it's a free-for-all. It doesn't mean that you're letting them get away with something. It just means that you are taking charge of the situation by recognizing what's really going on. You're going to let things calm down a little bit. Then you're going to restate the request. It's time to pick up your toys now. Please set the table because we need to have dishes on the table in order to eat dinner. Please clean up your toys now because it feels better to go to bed when you have a tidy room. Please clean up your toys because I don't want to step on your Legos and break my neck. Whatever it is, give them a reason. It's important and I think respectful of a child to give them a reason. And when you say because, they're just more likely to do the thing you want them to do if they hear because. There's actually some research on that adults are more likely to do a thing if you use the word because, even if you don't have a very good reason after the word because, more likely to do it. So give them a reason, use the word because. And then if your kid fusses or refuses or doesn't want to do it, just offer them some empathy. I know, picking up toys is so boring. So overwhelming. I know it really stinks to have to pick up your room. That is a bummer. That's okay to offer some empathy. That shows your child that you see them and that you understand what their experience is. And then offer to help, especially if your child is really little. Sometimes we have very high expectations of tiny people who really can't. Think about what it's like when a room is a total disaster full of toys and you send a child in there and you say, go pick up your toys. That's overwhelming. If you feel overwhelmed by it, I want you to check yourself and imagine what it feels like to be 4 years old or 5 years old or 7 years old and sent into that room, pick up your toys. You might need to be a little bit more specific. But I think it's also totally valid and helpful to offer to help. It's time to pick up your toys. I'm gonna help you. Let's do it together. And then you start with, if it's picking up toys, you can do this in an organized way. Let's pick up all the red ones, let's pick up all the blue ones, whatever it is. But offering to help lets you know that you've got their back. It communicates that you are on the same team. And that is what helps to build a strong and connected relationship over time. So you're going to wait till things calm down. You're going to restate the request and give a reason. And then you're going to offer some empathy and offer to help. And that's it. That's the accountability. And if that happens hours later from the time that you made the request, that's okay. Doesn't mean they're getting away with something. It just means that you're recognizing that in that moment they were not able to do the thing you wanted them to do, and that maybe you need to relax your conception of the way things, quote unquote, should go. Things do not always go your way, right? And part of our empathy to kids is like, things don't always go their way either. That's part of offering empathy to kids. And I promise that if you do this and you also work on other ways in which you're learning to keep your cool, you're learning to manage your own emotional state, you're taking responsibility for your own feelings, you're processing your own stuff so that you're showing up more present and more fully for your child or children, that this process will get easier. Because your child will know that you're serious, that when you say it's time to pick up your toys, they know that you mean that they will still have to pick up the toys. So even if it happens 5 hours later, they know the next time it happens that they will still have to do it. But the difference here is that they know that in a way that is calm emotionally, that is respectful, which is to say that you were calm and respectful and supportive in making those requests and in following up and expecting the accountability. So you didn't achieve that by getting in a power struggle or doubling down or yelling or punishing or all of these things or using coercion. That's not how you got there, right? You can still teach accountability by being empathic, supportive, and helpful. So I hope this was helpful to you. If this blew your mind and shifted your perspective, leave me a comment. I would love to know what you're thinking about this. And I hope you have a wonderful week. See you next time.